So I want to thank you for the season, for the contribution, for the backing us, for the support, and it was great. And so thank you.
You remember that video? That was Erik Ten Hag, last game at Old Trafford last season. After we got into the top four, we won the League Cup. Of course, we went on to lose the FA Cup after that. But things felt different with Erik Ten Hag at the end of last season. There was an overwhelming amount of positivity. First half of this season, an absolute car crash. But United now 3 wins from 3, genuine momentum, a hurdle overcome with that game against Villa. And I think he deserves some genuine praise. We're still not playing flawlessly by any stretch of the imagination, and more is still needed. But I tell you what, we're on a different trajectory than where we were 6 weeks ago. And Erik Ten Hag reiterated time and time and time again that he felt his Manchester United team would be better when players returned from injury. Are we at peak levels right now? Nope. But that game against Wolves, where United really should have been 4-5-0 up at half-time, and it shouldn't have taken a 97th minute winner from Mainu, but there was one, and it was a moment of the season, one of the moments of the season. And that game that followed at West Ham, probably one of the most controlled games we've had all season. No anxiety watching United at all. And then that game there against Aston Villa. Finally, we've won away from home against a top 9 team. Finally, we've shown that mental resilience. And that is a big thing that Man United just haven't shown really at any point this season. 6 or 7 times we've won a game and lost the next one. We're now 5 points off the top 4. The second half of this season, the trajectory of it does feel like it can go in a very different direction. And Ten Hag deserves a lot of praise for that. He's been focused. There's been so much criticism thrown at him. And a lot of it, I felt, was justified. And a lot of it, I felt, was deserved. And I think the praise right now is deserved. And this is what I want to focus on here. Erik Ten Hag asked after the game, were you worried that there was a danger of drawing? In that moment, you always have to see how a game progresses, but it's that bit there. Finally, I think we found the mentality, the character to win this game. And I want to speak about some individuals now, because Scott McTominay has... You know what? One thing I want to say here, again, for praise for Ten Hag, he's using McTominay correctly now. There was a point early this season, Brentford, after he scored 2 against Brentford, where Ten Hag was just like scraping around, didn't have a goal scorer in his team, just play Scott McTominay central midfield. It's like, he's not a central midfielder. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. And he never did. Him playing in central midfield is like Fellaini playing in central midfield. It was never a good idea. However, you use him correctly, and McTominay is delivering. His goals individually, have been worth 12 extra points to United. The 2 off the bench against Brentford. The goals against Chelsea. The goal against Wolves. The goal against Sheffield United. The goal there against Villa. McTominay's been delivering. And you know what? I think this is a really important part. The mentality. Ten Hag has been struggling with the discipline of this Manchester United team since he walked in the door as manager. So many different flashpoints. And the big flashpoint this season are the 2 main ones of Sancho and then Rashford going and doing the crazy stuff in Belfast. McTominay is the example now that Ten Hag has. And you can see why managers love him. And now that he's being used correctly, we're getting the most out of him as a team as well. And it feels like McTominay's enjoying it. He's thriving it. He's got 7 goals now. He's got more goals this season than all 3 seasons combined at Man United. He is delivering because he's being used correctly. And that is a big, important aspect. And somebody else who is absolutely delivering right now is Rasmus Højlund. 5 goals in his last 5 games for Manchester United. The second youngest striker to ever score in 5 consecutive games in the Premier League, and so many people wrote him off after what was a struggling start in a dysfunctional team that never even looked for him. But now, early in that game against Villa, when Rashford broke through and it was to Garnacho, who immediately tried to cross first time to Højlund. Dalot found McTominay. No, it wasn't that one there. But Dalot is starting to find crosses. People are looking for Højlund. Højlund is returning the goals. 8 shots and 5 goals from those 8. A ridiculous conversion rate. Way above what his expected goals are. scoring some bangers and some tap-ins. He's doing it all. Somebody else who's delivering. Again, you see, there's a reason why Manchester United have won these last 3 games, and it's not just fluke and it's not just luck. Do I think there are still tactical problems with this team? Yeah, there massively are, man. Especially out of possession. I think the system, it still needs to be tweaked, but Diogo Dalot with that cross to McTominay. Diogo Dalot consistently all season, really, has been progressively getting better, delivering the output going forward, which he kind of always has had, but also positionally improving. He's still been making mistakes this season. He's not flawless. And he still needs to develop his game, but it feels like there's some sort of partnership developing on that right-hand side between Dalot and Garnacho. Onana having his best game in a United shirt. Striding out from the back, good positioning with the saves as well. Somebody who's had a very tough season. Harry Maguire, again, you're talking about players who have been criticised the most, by me personally, probably Maguire and McTominay. And Maguire against Villa, an absolute dominant performance from him in both boxes, by the way. The reason why we were dangerous from set pieces was because of Harry Maguire. The reason we were good at defending set pieces largely was because of Harry Maguire. In both boxes, he was an absolute dominant force. You've got Kobbie Mainoo coming through into a midfield that now seems to be starting to gel together. I still think you need a little bit more from Casemiro. I think he still needs to hold that defensively disciplined position, which I don't think he particularly wants to do. I think he's like, finally leaving Real Madrid, I can start being in that. We still need him to be that screener in front of the defence more than anything else. Let Mainoo and let Bruno do the creative stuff going forward. Rashford, after Belfast. Better. This mentality that Erik Ten Hag has mentioned there, finally, I think we found it. And that game against Villa was a big moment for that team. Because away against top 9, our record has been so atrocious, it's painful. And now that we've done that, we can kick on. However, we now need to kick forward even more. And Erik Ten Hag knows that this time, he can't afford to take 2 steps back. Because Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are at the club now. The ratification will go through at some point in the next week or so. I'm hoping. But if the takeover, if we've learned anything from the takeover so far as United fans, expect it to be longer than it's going to be. This little interview here from Nick Cox, who of course head of academy, said this about Jim Ratcliffe. Jim is very familiar with the club, being a lifelong fan. You don't have to spend long here to realise that. They are building relationships, trying to understand where the help and support might be needed to help us to get better. The staff were incredibly enthused and appreciated the fact that they dedicated some time, which is a really busy time for them. He's talking about Ratcliffe and Brailsford going to the academy, speaking to academy staff. They are being thorough at every level of our football club. And of course, they're going to be thorough with the first team. So what Erik Ten Hag now has to make sure is that, look, Martinez, brilliant, we got our players back. Erik Ten Hag was absolutely spot on when he said this. And we have been better. But he's now going to have to deal without Martinez for 2 months. Luke Shaw, it's looking like injury problems have come back for him. Can we rely on him to be fit for a full month? Not right now, we can't. So what happens next? I'm hoping that we might see Harry Maguire get a chance on the bench. And that's not because I want to throw a youngster in, but he just looks so comfortable under 18s. And I can't comprehend the idea of playing Victor Lindelof there. And I don't want to move Diogo Dalot out of position. So I'm looking for alternatives. I'm looking, maybe there's an opportunity there. But these next 3 games, Luton might not be easy on paper. But now the expectation is that a confident Manchester United absolutely should be going to Luton and getting 3 points. A confident Manchester United with trajectory, with the mentality that we now showed against Villa, should be beating Fulham at home. Forest away in the FA Cup won't be an easy game, especially after what happened earlier there this season. But if Erik Ten Hag is challenging this sort of young team to, you can see there, keep delivering, then Erik Ten Hag needs to find those tactical tweaks to make us better as a team. They're still not there. But the mentality, at the very least, is starting to be there. Whether it's McTominay, whether it's Højlund, whether it's Delo, whether it's Onana, whether it's Maguire. You're seeing it in different areas of the pitch, and that's when a team becomes a team. When you don't have to just look at one individual and hope that they do something special. You look at the collective. And as a collective, in these last 3 games, Man United have been there in ways that we haven't early this season. Erik, keep doing it. Keep progressing this team. Because he has to. As I said, with Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, they will not just sit there and just let Erik Ten Hag stay in the job unless he deserves it. I want him to be successful. I really do. And I think that mentality is something that just eluded us all season. You've now shown that you can do it against Villa. In a tough game away against a team that has been dominant at home this season. A team that's beaten Arsenal. Was it Arsenal and City within the space of a week? Now you've got to go and do the same away at Luton. Build on it. Keep it going, because right now the trajectory is a very different direction to where it was for the first half of this season.